Before I do my advanced build today, I want to do a quick rundown of strings. So strings are just, a string variable is just text. You can change this to whatever you want, basically. It can be numbers, it can be letters, it can be exclamation points, or special characters. Whatever goes in there, it's just text, words, things like that. In contrast to your other variables like numbers, integers, and booleans. Those all have a very specific type. So you can actually compare strings to your other types of variables as well. If you're using a string compare here and an integer, say integer 0, I have the initial value set to 1. So if I come up to my string and change the initial value to just the number 1, when I test this for equal, it will actually test true, even though this is a string and this is an integer. The same goes with numbers. This is an initial value of 7.77. If I change this to 7.77, it will equal true in an equal compare. For booleans, it's a little bit different. Your initial value is false or true on these, but it's typed in all caps here, and that gives you the clue of what you need to compare it. So if you want to test a boolean against a string, you actually need to type in true or false in all caps. So initial value of true in my string and initial value true on a boolean will test true in an equal compare. Alright, I just wanted to do that quick rundown before I got to my advanced build, and onward with the video, I guess. Today we're going to be looking at strings. So I've built another demo map to show you the basics of string builders and strings themselves. So I've got this big empty room here, but when I enter this trigger box volume, it's going to randomly spawn me a custom spawn encounter, and I'll have to kill a certain number of demons to open the door. Above the door we can see a message I put up there that tells you what to do, and you also have an objective marker off to the left. So as I kill these imps, you'll notice that the objective is actually counting down, and up here above the door is actually counting down as well. And after every demon is killed, the door opens. That's how we want it to work. I'm going to restart this really quick and show you, hopefully, we get a different encounter instead of 5 imps. Okay, so this time we actually got 7 possessed workers. So this works the same way still. It's just a different number and different demon type. So if I go ahead and finish off these guys, the door will still open. You can't... there we go. The message has a draw distance on it. Okay. So there you go. After you finish off the demons in the room, the door opens. So let's look at how I built this. So as per usual, I've got a pretty basic empty map here, just an observation room and a hallway. I've already placed a player start, and I've got our custom group encounters over here already made. 7 workers, 5 imps, and 3 soldiers. Other than that, everything is still default. So I'm going to come over to our door and lock that right away, because we don't want to be able to get through there. And then I'm going to make a box trigger to actually trigger our events here. You could use a button, of course, but I do like these box triggers. Buttons seem to take too long to trigger for me. I just don't like them as much. Under our properties here, I'm going to leave this show on start to true. If you don't want this to appear, you can set that to false. but other than that, we want to remove on touch, so when a player enters it, the box will be disabled and can't be triggered again. And we're going to set our custom filter to any player, because we don't want that happening if a demon gets in there. Alright, from our trigger, I'm actually going to have to link to these group encounters. So we're going to use a random relay here from flow, and we're going to link those all up. You can leave everything default in this one. Just run once and signal count 1. So when a player enters our trigger volume, signal our random relay, and from here you want to connect these all up separately. You don't want to use the same signal, because then they'll all trigger. So make sure you grab from the relay node there, and not this orange on random relay signaled. Okay, so when we enter that box there, it's going to spawn one of these. But we have no way of counting or anything yet. So let's set up our variables we'll need. We'll need a integer, of course, to count up and down our demons. So I'm going to put that there and call this one demon count. And initial value, just leave it 0. And minimum is defaulted to 0 on my new one here, because I had it set to 0 when I was testing and building the map earlier. It'll be at negative 10,000 by default. You'll want to set that to 0 because we're going to be using it in a string. We'll actually need 3 different string variables for this. Since we have 3 parts to our string, we have the prefix, which said kill, our number, which is actually just going to be our integer here, and then our postfix was our demon type, so it said kill 5 imps. So the imps was actually a separate string variable. So with 3 of these, this one's going to be our prefix, and it's just going to say kill, because that's what we want to tell our player to do. This one's going to be our postfix, what we add on to the end, and we can leave that blank, because we'll be setting it in our script later. And this one's going to be our completed message. So this is actually going to contain everything after it's built, and we can leave that blank as well. We're going to show an objective to our player, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. I'm going to go ahead and set this text objective to clear the room. And the secondary text we're actually going to change to our completed message variable. So go ahead and hit that options and then swap variable constant button. And we're going to use, excuse me. There we go. String. Completed message. I must have not hit the buttons right. Completed message variable. Put that in there. Make sure you're hitting the right buttons, unlike me. And we're also going to need an AA proxy to detect when a demon is killed. So let's grab that really quick. We'll want to place our world text in here as well above our door. Just for demonstration purposes mostly. You'll have that objective counter, but I think it was pretty cool to have the message above the door as well. So we're actually going to change our text here to our variable, which is going to be our completed message again. And since it's blank by default, we can leave this show on start to true. But I'm going to increase the text size and our show distance so we can see it across the room easier. Alright, I think that's all we need, so let's go ahead and start linking this up for now. On our AI proxy, when we kill a demon, we want to decrease our demon count by 1. When our demon count changes, we'll need our string to change as well. So what we're going to do is, when this is changed, link to our completed message and hit this build button. So this is our first really string related thing we're going to be doing. So in here we're going to actually build our completed message string. So you go into string parts here and add new. And the first thing we're going to add, the first thing we want to show on our string, is our prefix, which is just the word kill in this case. The next thing we want to do is add the number of our demons, so demon count. And then finally we want to add our postfix. And that's going to contain our demon type. So we have kill, number of demons, type of demons. And we want a string separator of a space between them. If you actually, I think it's a space by default, if you take that out, it will actually not have anything separating the strings in there at all. So you can just have all those words smashed together. But we do want a space in there, so it's actually proper English. And since we're going to be changing our postfix from our random relay over there later, we're also going to link our postfix onChanged to this same build. That way, whenever anything in our completed message changes or updates, the number or the type of demons, our completed message gets built. So when our completed message changes, since an objective only shows once, and whatever is in the objective when you signal it initially is what's shown, we have to re-show the objective every time our string is changed to update it. So when our number changes here, our string gets rebuilt, and since it's changed, we re-show our objective, which will change our secondary text here. Okay, we're going to need some integer compares as well. The first, of course, is so we can open our door once the count reaches 0. So on the left-hand side, we're going to set this to demon count with our options swap variable key combo. And right-hand side, we're going to leave it 0. So when our count reaches 0, we're going to open our door. We can also link this to our world text and make it disappear, since otherwise it'll just say kill 0 demons, basically. And we don't really want that up there. And we'll need to trigger that every time our integer changes. So from our demon count on changed node, we're just going to link this to test. Okay, let's leave this alone for now and come over to our random relay. Since we have different numbers of demons in each of these, we're going to need to set our demon count to the proper number of the number of demons we're actually spawning. So I'm going to place another reference to our demon count integer, but it's going to be the same variable. So I'm going to place this down and then just select demon count again. And since we're going to be changing our postfix string based on what demons are spawning, I'm going to put another reference to it here as well. So when we signal this relay, we're going to spawn 5 imps. So from here, we're going to link to our daemon count and actually set the amount to 5. 7 workers, we're going to set it to 7. And 3 soldiers, we're going to set our daemon count to 3. Okay, this is imps, so from our same relay signal here, we're going to set our postfix string to our value imps. And the same, of course, for this other stuff. Possessed workers, I'm just going to call workers. And soldiers. This, of course, are plural type of these. So we have soldiers, workers, and imps with an S on the end, of course. And when we reach 1, right now, it'll say kill 1 imps or kill 1 workers. And we want to change that just to make it look nice. So we're going to actually add another integer compare over here. So from our onChanged, test this compare, and we're going to make this left-hand side our daemon count integer, and right-hand side is going to be 1, not 13, 1. So when it reaches 1, we can change our postfix message to the singular form of our noun. But what we need to do here is actually find out which type of daemon it was. And we're going to use a string compare to do that. And we're going to need 3 of these. So when our daemon count equals 1, we need to test each of these. So our left-hand side is going to be our variable postfix, and our right-hand side is going to be imps, our plural forms of our nouns. And it's important to note that string compare is actually case sensitive. So imps spelled like this is not the same as imps spelled with a lowercase I. So you need to make sure you use the same capitalization across the board. So if our postfix string is equal to imps, or our postfix string is equal to workers, or is equal to soldiers, we need to change our postfix message accordingly. So imps needs to become imp. Workers needs to become worker. And soldiers needs to become soldier. Okay, that that should be all of our string building and changing we'll need to do. So let's run through this really quick. Over here, when we spawn our encounter, we're going to increase our demon count, the number of demons we spawn, and we're going to change our postfix string to the type of demon that they are. So when we kill any demon, our reference to our demon count variable is going to go down by 1. And if it reaches 1, we're going to change our postfix string based on what it started with, our plural forms, and it's going to set it to our singular form of our noun. At any time that our number or our postfix string changes, we're going to rebuild our completed message, and when that changes, we're going to re-show our objective. At the point that our demon count reaches 0, when we've killed everything in the room, we need to open our door, hide our world text message, and we should actually also hide our objective. Okay, that should be everything we need. So let's test this out. Empty room, trigger our event, world text is working, kill an imp, goes down by 1, shows above the door, and our door opens. Looks like we have a bug though, and I believe I know what the problem was. So let's go back and fix that really quick. Since we have our on changed here, every time our message changed, we show that objective again. And this is all happening after our count reaches 0. We need to put a delay in here. We want to hide our objective after our completed message has re-shown it. So we're just going to increase our input delay here to 1/10 of a second. And everything should work now. There we go. Hidden on the end there. Perfect. Alright guys, congrats to making it to the end on this one. It got pretty long. Thanks for watching, and go use this to great effect in your own maps.